Some announcements need a lot more rah-rah than others, and this is one of such because Suno just announced the biggest announcement ever since their Series D, in my opinion. New models, new terms of service, and new download limits. And every prior model, the ones you loved, 4.55, 3.53, they're all being retired when the new models launch. So this isn't a minor update. This is a fundamental reset of the entire platform. And September 3rd is the date that triggers most of it. So I'm going to go through every single component for you, every single implication, and every loophole. And you might want to watch my shorter version if you are in a hurry. But this is the headline that most people are missing. It's the download limits conversation. When the new WMG license models launch, every prior model will be retired, all of them just gone. The generation engine that made your existing library will no longer exist. Now, I don't know if they're going to call this version 6 or whatever, but you may ask, why is this happening? Well, remember back in November last year, this is the WMG settlement mechanism. The unlicensed models trained on data that UMG and Sony claim was obtained without permission, they're all being replaced with a clean licensed architecture. And this is exactly what they required. Now, here's the legal significance for the pending court cases coming up, because courts typically do not issue injunctions against future conduct that has already voluntarily ceased. By retiring the contested models before the August oral argument ruling lands, Suno is significantly reducing its injunction exposure. Even if UMG and Sony win on the infringement question, the court may decide an injunction is unnecessary because the infringing models are already gone. So it comes in a timely way for them. For creators, your existing songs will stay in your library and remain playable, but if you haven't downloaded songs that you want to keep as audio files, they are now subject to the download limits of September 3rd. And that's why I downloaded 600 of my songs very recently from Suno. So for creators, I would highly advise you to download your songs and make sure that everything that is precious to you is downloaded in WAV. Not just MP3, but WAV. Download every single thing that is of value in your library. And let me read to you the number that most people in the community haven't even registered yet. It's the 72060. What am I talking about? The free tier, 7 downloads lifetime. You got 7 tries, and after that, you got to pay. Then you can listen to whatever you've created on the platform, but you cannot export it out. We're not talking about generations here. We're talking about downloads. Two different things, okay? If you are a free tier member, you know how you make that credit. You get the credits by listening to what Suno says. Hey, we got this song, and if you listen to it and you let us know if it's any good or which one you prefer, then we'll give you some additional credits. That's how it works with Suno. So, I mean, in the early days, that's what I did until I decided I just had to become a full-fledged paid member. So I did. So you got 7 downloads for the free tier, 20 downloads per month for the pro. Now, unlike the free tier, this is lifetime. So you only have 7 downloads for life. And once you've used those, that's it. And you cannot use this commercially, okay? Cannot use the 7 free downloads commercially. Now, the pro tier, of course, they got commercial rights, but you've only got 20 a month, which means average of 1 every 2 days or something like that. But you can always buy more, okay? Now, for the premier tier, you got 60 downloads a month. You can also buy additional. But at the end of the day, it's still a limit. And for those of you that were used to 500 and 600, well, I'm sorry. Now, for those of you that have the studio element being used, there are no caps on the stem separation and so on. So you can have unlimited stems, but just remember Suno is Suno, so it still will be 60 full songs, but unlimited stems and stem manipulation and so on. And if you're smart with your stem manipulation and stuff in studio, this won't even bother you at all, not even in the slightest. So there's some loopholes that we need to talk about. And I covered some of this in my last video. The big loophole number one is the archive window. This is one of the more important ones. Between now and September 3rd, you have no download limits. So your entire Suno library until the 3rd, which is almost a month, right? Just 1 week shy of a month, you can download everything that you've ever done, right? Before that date. Once it gets to September 3rd, it's going to be subject to the new cap, okay? So the window is going to close. Make sure you download everything. And honestly, I wouldn't even wait till September 3rd because there's going to be a whole lot of traffic on that server. So what you might want to do now, my suggestion is for you to actually just start downloading today so that it doesn't get too crazy and you realize it's not downloading quickly enough and your whole download scheme is host. Don't do that. Okay, so that archiving window is a very big one for lots of you. Secondly, the share link bypass. Download limits will apply to file exports. Suno's share links embed audio players that allow streaming and sharing within the Suno platform. So if a third-party platform accepts Suno's embed player, some social platforms do and some don't, you can actually distribute your audio without consuming download quota. This does not produce a distributable audio file. It only works within the constraints of embedded playback. And you know, if you've been playing around with the iPhone and Suno in there, you know you can play your tracks directly in iMessage. The third loophole is the seed ambiguity. Suno says old songs can be used as a basis for covers and remixes. It's not defined whether using an old song as a seed for new generation will consume any download quota. I do not believe it will. All you need to do is drag it in as we always do and then just prompt. So if it doesn't consume download quota using it within Suno, your historical library has ongoing creative utility without burning your monthly limit. But the moment you take it out of Suno and you're trying to manipulate it and bring it back, then you've already used your download credits taking it out. So just be aware of that. The second loophole is multi-account free tier. 7 lifetime downloads per account. Multiple accounts, get multiple 7 download allowances. But again, you got to be careful with this because even if you download on your free tier, you're technically not allowed to use it commercially. So be aware. The fifth loophole is the studio scope ambiguity. For Premiere subscribers who use Suno Studio, there are no download limits for the stems. But there are, however, still download limits for the songs. But if you know how to play the game well, you may end up using the stems as downloads, but it may not be as clean, but it's a way around it. Okay, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean. Okay, so this does not mean unlimited downloads for all content on Suno Studio. No, we're only talking about stuff that you stem separate and create within the environment. You're free to take stems out, bring in new content and all that. And it would make sense to do it that way. Because if not, then how do you use Studio that gobbles up tons and tons of credits, if you get what I mean? All right, so let's talk about something we've mentioned before, the arbitration idea and why it's gotten tighter. So the terms of service announced two specific things, really big. The first one is commercial rights clarification. The language is songs downloaded from Suno on paid plans remain yours to use commercially or personally. And what this means is commercial rights are attached to the download event. If a song sits in your Suno library without being downloaded, you've not yet exercised your commercial rights. The song is playable and shareable on Suno, but to use it commercially in YouTube and streaming, distribution, and so on, you need to download it. And downloading consumes your monthly quota. For those of you that have tons and tons of songs, beware. So this creates a functional paywall between creation and commercial deployment. And it really depends on how many of these credits you have and how many songs you do. But for me as a creator, I have to be more calculated and more structured in how I download songs from Suno, how I use the ability to download MP3s and WAV. I would rather download a WAV now than an MP3, for those of you who know why, right? Now, the second piece that they talked about is arbitration and mass arbitration. The second change is both quieter and more significant for anyone with potential legal claims against Suno, like many of you indie people. You got claims. Well, Suno is updating the arbitration agreement. They are also adding specific provisions governing mass arbitration, such as what we're seeing in some of these cases. Mass arbitration is exactly what Hagens Berman, the firm that joined the indie artist class action, specializes in. A mass arbitration is a coordinated legal strategy where many individual arbitrations are filed simultaneously against a single company. And you know what that does? It brings overwhelming pressure. Pressure of all sorts, right? Administrative pressure to keep track of what's going on, financial pressure, just not good. But this is what Hagens Berman specializes in. So Suno is building contractual defenses against this strategy. Every user who accepts the September 3rd TOS agrees to these updated terms. And if you believe your music might have been used in Suno's training data without your consent, speak to your lawyer before September 3rd. Personally, I don't care. I've seen my music in that so-called Atlantic database. Don't even care one bit. But once you accept the new TOS, the window for certain legal strategies is going to be significantly narrower. So just keep that in mind. There is the retroactive application, and this is what may catch some folks off guard because Suno says limits apply to all downloads starting September 3rd, including everything that was made before it, which means if you have a song in your current library that you've not already downloaded, it's subject to the download limits in September. No ifs, ands, or buts. Songs that you made last month, songs that you made in 2025, 2024, everything. So the songs, they don't disappear. They remain in your library and they're playable. But if you want to get them out of the platform, then you got to use your credits. So we're talking about distributing through DistroKid. If you want to include it in a project. So I'm telling you, friends, get smart. Personally, I don't have any hangups about this, right? Suno says if you pay additional fees, you can have more downloads. So I do want you to be aware of that. But I know many of you are not looking forward to spending any more money with Suno since you got a 1 year subscription, and I can understand that. So my recommendation would be set a reminder for September 2nd. Worst case scenario, that's if you don't get it done before then, but you should spend the day downloading everything in your library, because this is probably the most practical action you can take right now. Now, let's talk about the announcement itself, the single announcement they made last week, which seemed to be litigation as well. Let's talk about the one they made 2 days ago, because that seemed to be litigation as well. Pretty much everything, including the one from Mikey, all of them, all three of them. There have been three very solid announcements, and they're all litigation. They all point towards litigation. So if you look at the blog post, and I will endeavor to put a link if I can, just understand that the model retirement is going to reduce their exposure. That's what this is about, not majorly, but part of it. The August oral argument, which is coming, UMG versus Suno, is days away. And if courts rule against Suno on the copyright infringement question, the typical remedy is an injunction to stop the infringing conduct. But if Suno has already retired models 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, then UMG has nothing to cry about, right? The injunction will have nothing to bite on because the conduct has already voluntarily ceased from Suno. So the WMG license model confirms Suno's ability and willingness to operate within a licensing framework, and it signals to UMG and Sony, look at what we're building. Warner saw the opportunity and joined us. You can still get what Warner got. The door remains open. The download limits preempt regulatory and platform pressure that was heading their way regardless. So it's better to self-regulate before someone manages it and mandates it. The watermarking complies more with the RIAA and IFPI tagging alternative, and it aligns with Apple Music's mandatory tag requirement, and it demonstrates proactive transparency to the court. The arbitration update also responds to the Hagens-Berman class action threat. And we're talking about a firm that has won $246 billion from the tobacco industry. So you can you can imagine what they're looking to do to Suno. And Suno says, no, yeah, you ain't taking any of our funds. We'll see how that goes. The commercial rights clarification creates a clean audit trail. Every commercially deployed Suno track can now be associated with a specific paid subscriber account and download event. This matters if Suno ever needs to demonstrate licensing compliance to a court or a distributor. So I believe with the watermarking, Suno will be able to track down to the user where that track came from. So no more anonymity and no more Michael Smith behavior. So there are 8 things I want to tackle here. Number 1, download your library now. Number 2, count your monthly exports and know where you are. Have an idea before that date, once that date hits. Number 3, read the new TOS before accepting. I'm going over some of it with you here, but you got to also do it yourself. The mass arbitration update is probably the more legally significant one. Significant change to the prior, and don't accept it on autopilot. Can read through it again and make sure you can live with that. I can, but can you? You gotta ask yourself that question. Number 4, consult a lawyer if you have claims. Number 5, get clarity on Suno Studio scope. I expect to get clarity from Suno very soon about Suno Studio. But the way I'm guessing it works is you know, it's like a buffet, but you're still limited to 60 downloads, right? Even though you got unlimited stems, it's very different. Keep that in mind. But it could be very helpful to incentivize people to go into studio more than before. All right, register your originals, your original melodies and lyrics. Save your prompts and style settings and document everything that you have in Suno. So did Suno just become a legitimate music company is a question a lot of people are asking. Well, if we step back from the policies and look at what Suno is becoming, this announcement pretty much marks Suno's transition from a scrappy AI startup operating in legal gray areas to something much closer to a legitimate music company. One that is operating within an emerging industry framework. Licensed models, transparency tools, download limits that target abuse without eliminating legitimate use. Commercial rights clearly attached to paid subscriptions, arbitration frameworks protecting against coordinated legal attack. So these are not the moves of a company preparing to lose its lawsuits. These are the moves of a company positioning itself for long term. Suno is in it for the long haul. And I know lots of people have abandoned ship, but I know a lot of people are going to join ship because a lot of people wanted this kind of stuff. Be you'd be shocked to know how many people are going to join as a result of this. But that will be for another day. For UMG and Sony, as a clue, this announcement changes the negotiating dynamics. The models they've been suing over are being retired voluntarily. The new license models are being built within the framework that Warner Music already negotiated. The question UMG and Sony must now answer is, do you want to be inside the 5.4 billion company that Warner is already in? Or do you want to keep litigating over models that are being retired anyway? And I get what they're doing. It's a smart move, right? They got to stem the tide and they got to play a defensive game of chess. The oral argument is still critical, though. The fair use ruling will still have major consequences, but Suno just moved the chessboard significantly. The injunction argument is much weaker when the contested models are already retired, and the settlement argument is much stronger when the licensed alternative is already launching. So September 3rd, 2026 is likely to be remembered as the day AI music put on its big boy or big girl pants and grew up. My friend, one more time, I really want to urge you. I know I've said it countless times, but I remember what happened during the Udio case. There were a lot of you were told download stuff. And can you imagine people still came out of the woodworks days later saying, I didn't know. This is why I'm running this nonstop on repeat. Download your stuff. I know I have influenced a lot of you to get into Suno. What I would hate is for you to not download your stuff. So please download everything under the sun. Oh, you see what I did there? Everything under the Suno. Download it. The September reset, it's the biggest single announcement in Suno's history. And it's not because of the download limits and it's not because of the TOS. It's because of what it represents with the new models. The WMG license model, you know, I said models. I don't know why I'm suspecting it's going to be more than one model. I think there's going to be a massive announcement. Suno has already said the model is going to be better than anything they ever put out. Think about that. It's kind of interesting, but I'll have to see it before I believe it. So that's why this is big news. It's not the download count. It's not the watermarking. No. The transparency infrastructure and the commercial rights framework and the arbitration protection. All of this is transforming Suno from a startup that moved fast and broke things into a company that is trying to build something sustainable within the legal and commercial structures that govern the music industry. I know lots of us are not happy about this, but we got to sit back and watch. Based on what I'm hearing, I am glad we can still download and take out of the system. So what this is telling me is when it comes to UMG and Sony, they probably don't even want to play this game. Why? Because I know UMG for sure wants a walled garden model where everything is trapped within Suno and not able to come out. But whether UMG and Sony accept the invitation that this announcement implicitly extends to them, like join the licensed framework that Warner already joined, I guess it will determine whether August's oral argument produces a ruling or settlement. The practical message for every creator is this: download everything in your library before September 3rd. The window is open. It closes on a specific date, so don't miss it. Highly advise you to get cracking with it right away. My friends, if you know of other people that need to be taking action just like you, please share this video with them. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and I want to say thank you for all of you who came through today and watched the video and shared comments and ideas. We're tackling this journey together, so we might as well work together, share information and ideas. Shout out to everyone who shared ideas on the last video. I read through them all, and some of those ideas I've already started executing. For those of you that don't read a lot of what other people say, I want to encourage you to, because there's some gems. Pretty ill gems in some of the previous videos. All right, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. Share this with someone, and remember to be downloading your stuff on the regular. In the next few weeks, I intend featuring how you can build music with a DAW. I'm going to be illustrating how you can make beats, how you can bring in loops, how you can expand your musical tapestry, because I think what we heard today certainly demands it.